What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Before we start, congratulations to Brian, got a hold of him and everything, for winning the new 2DS XL Hylian Shield Edition. Picking that up today as GameStop let me know that it was coming in today, so we'll be picking that up and getting it shipped out immediately since there's just a UPS store right there anyways. We're just walk right over, ship it out. So congratulations to Brian. And now, of course, we're doing the NES Classic Edition giveaway, and that's already moving pretty quick since that's at 130,000 subscribers, and we're already moving pretty quick towards that. So that's next. I already got it. We'll ship it out when we hit it, so that's going to be great. Now, let's get started with some quick news. If you missed it, we did get the Game Awards, or Game Critics awards for E3. So we have, of course, some of the best games that they pick out there. And Best of Show was Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is very impressive for Capcom, considering this is Capcom's first time winning that award. That's right. All the E3s, all the time Capcom has shown it, all these different E3s, this is the first time they've won it. I mean, seriously, we go back to like Resident Evil 4, for example, which is an awesome Resident Evil. Some people have that up in their top, 10 games of all time. Some people top 5. And unfortunately, that came out and was shown at E3 at the same time that the PSP, which really, really convinced a lot of people that was the best in show. That actually won best in show, by the way. Best of show was the PSP, the PlayStation Portable. And even so, even if it wasn't that, Twilight Princess was shown to a roaring, seriously, go look at that on YouTube. Insanity. That was a roaring audience reaction was to that, because that was the culmination of everyone who wanted a realistic looking Zelda game, and that was it right there. So if it wasn't going to be the PSP, Best of Show probably was going to be Twilight Princess. It was shown on the same stage as Resident Evil 4, so fortunately, Resident Evil 4 didn't have a chance there. But there you go, Capcom. Congratulations for winning Best of Show at E3 2018 with Resident Evil 2 Remake. Also, there's a very interesting fan project I want to bring a little bit of a light to here, because I think it's really cool to see this. You remember PT, when that demo was released, and it was kind of the demo for Silent Hills at the time, where Kojima was making it, and it looked really cool, and it was very scary. People seriously freaked out when they were playing it on YouTube. People watch those reaction videos all the time. But it was genuinely scary. It was a callback to horror games that we all wanted badly for, actually being like a psychological horror. But of course, the demo was pulled because Konami is Konami, and now you have to go through a lot of tricks or buy an overpriced system on eBay. Well, it seems like one fan wasn't having it, and they decided they wanted to rebuild the entirety of that demo on PC in Unreal Engine 4, and it's technically out, kind of. See, they're still working on it, but they have version 0.9 out. You can go download it right now if you want to just try it out. Now, they do say it's missing animations, so they still have work to do, but they did put the Twitter handle out there for anyone who can help with the animations for kind of this fan passion project. And I'll put that on the screen. It's at Quimzar, so you can DM them or help them out. They are looking for help, but you can download it and try it out now, and it's really cool to see this, although I am concerned Konami is going to try to shut this down because it's Konami. I mean, seriously, even the mods on their own subreddit were like, this probably isn't allowed, but I don't care. This is Konami, right? That's the way it is. So I hope to see this actually finish up version 1.0, because at that point, people will probably grab it, start throwing it on torrent sites and everything, and then Konami's really never going to be able to completely get rid of it. So we'll see. But I would at least go download it. If you're interested and you want to help, I would at least go download it just to make sure you have it. I did that, so I at least have it just in case Konami goes on a cease and desist spree. Also, I did a fun little poll just to see how it would go. I put up questions about what people would like to see in the next Switch variant. I'm sure we'll see some kind of revision of the Switch, whether it's a bigger one, a smaller one, a more powerful one. And it seemed like a lot of people, I think over 60% of people, wanted to see a more powerful Switch option, not just be all end all, but an option to have a more powerful Switch. Others wanted battery life and some smaller, but the biggest one was definitely more powerful. It was very interesting to see where some of the Switch community kind of was thinking about what they want from the next Switch, or just a Switch coming out to kind of complement it. Think of like the 3DS to like the new 3DS XL, or 3DS XL and new 3DS XL, where it was a little more powerful and some games were specific to it. I think it would be cool just because some of the games obviously that have been coming out have a dynamic scaling resolution, and if it's more powerful, then it would probably sit at the roof more than not. That's how kind of the Xbox One X benefited from having dynamic scaling resolution, something like Halo 5. So even if you have a 1080p TV, you will pretty much just be capped at 1080p at all times, 60 frames, and that's just something cool to see. Now, guys, with all that out of the way, let's get into some of the bigger stuff. We're going to start with the UK sales charts because something very interesting has happened here. Now, The Crew 2 came out, right? That was brand new. People were like, it's going to sell really well. It kind of, I mean, it did. It came in at number 2. And you might be wondering, well, what other game came out that would beat out The Crew 2, a pretty large racing game from Ubisoft? Crash Insane Trilogy came out again. That's what happened here. In fact, it jumped, as you see here in the charts, from the number 22 spot last week to number 1. And the Switch and the Xbox One obviously are the reason for that. Now, the Xbox One version sold the best, but the Switch version, according to GameIndustry.biz, was only about 250 units behind it, which is a pretty small amount considering the install sizes. And according to GameIndustry.biz, this is the best-selling Switch game to date in the UK for obviously its debut week and everything. They love Crash over in the UK, right? That this is like their game. As we saw with the PS4, Crash was sticking around for a while until everybody pretty much bought it. But even then, you can see it was still in number 22 or so without the other versions last week. So it's pretty interesting to see how much they like Crash Bandicoot. But it gives me hope because I think the stage is absolutely set for that new one they were talking about. I think it's time we do get that new Crash Bandicoot. It comes out on all systems. I know they might want to do that timed Sony exclusive, but it seems like the sales are there and they can release it on all systems, right? Activision can just roll in and say, Crash is out on everything. PC, Xbox One, PS4, Switch. Pick your system and it would be a massive success. And I'm looking forward to it because I'm hoping that is coming out next year since they have Spyro later on this holiday. But let me know if you guys picked up Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy again. Did you get on the Switch, get on the Xbox, PC? And would you be all in for a new Crash game that's maybe sticks closer to the original format rather than try to do something new and weird? And they've tried that several times, right? Would you want something that's closer to the original format, just more fleshed out, more options, more content? Because I think a lot of us are ready for something like that, and the sales, they reflect that. Also, it's worth noting that Mario Tennis Aces did fall to number 4, but it's still at least holding right in there, and then God of War was number 5. So both of those two games that are obviously larger releases, God of War being a massive release, are still sticking around, and Mario Tennis Aces didn't fall too far. Next week, though, we'll see if it can stay in the top 10, because that's my one concern with Mario Tennis Aces, that it continues to really fall off, but we'll see. I do expect it to stay in the top 10 at least till next week. Next up, let's talk about Reggie's interview with Game Informer because he talked about a lot of stuff with Nintendo. He talked about how they're looking to streamline the manufacturing process for the Switch to make sure there are plenty out there for the holiday season. Of course, we have Smash, Pokemon. These are reasons to have as many Switch systems on the shelves as possible, and I think they're going to really push for that because they keep saying they're going to do 20 million Switch units this fiscal year. And they need to make sure the systems are on the shelf to do that. He also said his favorite Zelda, despite Breath of the Wild being so good, is still Link to the Past. And that is the correct answer, Reggie. Good job. And then they also talked a bit about the GameCube accessories and the GameCube conversion. If you remember that, you had to buy the little box that plugged in. They were actually pretty hard to find. They're doing the same thing there. Streamlining manufacturing and make sure there's plenty out there, plenty of stock for people to buy, because no one really wants to have to pay a ton. Like at one point it was like $70 or $80 to get a $20 GameCube adapter for the Wii U. But I don't think anyone wants to go through that again, because it's not like Nintendo's getting the scalping money, so I doubt they want to get into that either. But he also talked about the classic system line, and this was one that a lot of people saw, and it was like, okay, so what are we working on next? A lot of us assume it's the Nintendo 64 Classic, but Reggie at least made it seem like, yeah, another one's coming, and this is what he said. We've said that certainly for this year that we would have the NES and SNES Classic available at retail. NES Classic comes back this month. That's our focus right now. In terms of the future Classic series, we'll have to set up a different interview to talk about that. Look, we know that our fans love our legacy content. Being in the business 40 years, we know we have a lot of content we can surprise our consumers with. We're aware of it, and stay tuned. So it sounds like the focus is indeed on the NES and the Super Nintendo Classic, as we would assume, since that's what's actually out in stores and they're trying to sell them this holiday. I was hoping that the Nintendo 64 Classic would be out for this holiday, but maybe that's a next year thing, right? Maybe it's not this year, or maybe they're just going to surprise announce it at some point, and they just weren't ready to announce it in this interview, because it said, hey, we'll have to set up a future interview for talking about the future of the classics. And Yeah, they know that there's money here. They know they keep selling them. They know there's brand awareness, which is very big for them too. The NES Classic, I don't think makes them a ton of money, but man, does it make people think of Nintendo, doesn't it? When it's sitting on shelves, and it's great for an older audience that maybe gets back into games because of the NES Classic. So we'll see. The Nintendo 64 Classic is a whole nother generation of gamers that maybe grew up with that and they'll want to buy it there. So yeah, let's get the N64 Classic out here. Definitely, I would like to see that. And I'd like to see GoldenEye on there. Let's see if we can make that happen, Nintendo. In our last bit of news, let's talk about Square Enix and the Nintendo Switch, and I guess in the PS4, because it looks like they are making a new action RPG for both systems. They specifically have the Switch and the PS4 listed, and we know Square is probably gonna really be getting into it like a lot of Japanese companies, as we're seeing this Switch really gain massive market share in Japan. They're gonna start developing a lot of Japanese-based games, probably RPGs, action RPGs, different games there for the Nintendo Switch. Makes a ton of sense, and it looks like Square is at least getting ready to develop a new action RPG. If they haven't already started, I'm sure they probably started some stuff and they're hiring on right now for it. And there was an actual job listing that they posted. Now this is Business Division 8. They're the studio who did the Secret of Mana remake for the PS4, the Vita, and PC. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius for the smartphones, and Imperial Saga for browser. So we're thinking they're going to be doing something new. A lot of people were wondering if there would be a port of Secret of Mana. There still could be, but it looks like this is something new, and they're seeking a project assistant for work on the action RPG, which is very exciting to see, because I like to see as many Square games as possible go to the Switch, even the PS4 at this point, because I like having the Switch for RPGs. I just think it makes a lot of sense. It's easier to kind of play the Switch as a handheld, which is kind of how I like to play a lot of my RPGs now, when you're either watching TV or you're kind of hanging out. It just seems easier. I don't know, maybe it's me. Like, grinding is way easier, I think, than sitting on a couch or in a chair in front of a monitor like I do, and kind of having to just grind away and do that. But I like the idea here, and I hope Square continues to develop heavily for the Switch, because I do think Octopath Traveler is going to do well. I think it's might even do better than what their expectations are at this point, because it seems like the Switch audience is really looking forward to that game, and I am too. So let's get to mid-July so I can start playing it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Reggie essentially hinting at another classics system. N64 seems to be the obvious one, but let me know what you guys think. Some people even have kind of talked about a Game Boy possibly. That'd be kind of interesting to see a Game Boy Classic. Maybe. Also, let me know what you think about Square Enix designing a new game for the PS4 and the Switch. Do you have any ideas what it could be? It's an action RPG. You think it's a remake from previous games, or you think it might be brand new? I'm really curious what your thoughts are on that, guys, and everything else we talked about. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.